these desires that I'm chasing after, are they really mine? Because I wanted to show people and prove them wrong. Through the years, you know what? That is a game I never wanted to play. I ended the unconscious loop that way. And then it allowed my nervous system to complete the stress cycle. And when the body starts to feel released from all that, now it's like being given a permission that, hey, you're allowed to move in a way that, in a direction that you want. And this is when identity starts to form. Because our intuition is about habits and identity. And that is also very aligned with psychology. See, in basic neuroplasticity, when a feeling is repeatedly revisited and rehearsed, the brain strengthens the neural pathway around it. This is a principle by Donald Hebb, and it's often summarized as something like this: neurons that fire together wire together. So if somebody repeatedly revisits the feelings of betrayal, rejection, resentment, humiliation, our brain gets very efficient at recreating that emotional state. So eventually, emotion becomes familiar. Familiar becomes automatic, and automatic influences decisions. And this is how pain shapes our behavior. Okay, here's an example. Let's just say we have a friend that's been rejected so many times after applying a lot of jobs. So now that repeated rejection that they are rehearsing may prompt them to avoid opportunities. Somebody who has been betrayed so many times keeps looking for betrayal and rehearsing betrayal in every person that they meet, automatically makes them stop trusting people. Somebody who's always feeling shame over whatever they need to do because they're so split between what they want for themselves and what society thinks they should be or do in order to be perceived a certain way. So now, whenever they think about the stuff that they want that's not approved by society, they start to feel shame. And every time that shame grows stronger and bigger, they are the biggest self-saboteurs. They will constantly self-sabotage happiness, success, or basically just any opportunity to feel good. So it's not to say that they're doing this on purpose. This is not conscious. They do this unconsciously. Their nervous system just started treating those emotional states as their normal baseline. However, the opposite can also be true. Acknowledging emotions does not seek to suppress the emotion. It actually prevents into crystallizing that emotion into identity. So a feeling that moves through the system is just a moment. A feeling that is constantly rehearsed becomes a pattern. And a pattern repeated long enough becomes a personality trait. But the process can also be reversed. So if we constantly do the following, notice it, put a name on it or label it, and then allow it to exist, and then release it, we are teaching our nervous system something different. It's telling our brains that this feeling is information, not who I am. And that's when the brain starts to learn distinction, and emotions stop running the entire system. They become just signals, that's it, instead of cages. Okay, but I need to clarify that what I'm saying isn't as easy as name that emotion and then it goes away, because there are two distinct approaches and they differ greatly. They might look identical on the surface, but the internal orientation is different, and the nervous system can tell the difference. let's think about it as acknowledging versus manipulating the emotion. So when you actually want to acknowledge it honestly, it sounds something like this. This is what I'm feeling right now. There's no hidden agenda attached to that statement. The person is not trying to make the feeling go away. They are simply recognizing that this is the current reality. So, from the standpoint of the nervous system, this creates acceptance. And once you master the acceptance part, releasing is easy. So, recognizing reality equals to acceptance, equals to allowing the emotional stress cycle to complete. This internal signal gets processed, and often that's how the body releases it naturally. Let's simplify. Feeling, acknowledgement, processing, release. So you feel the feeling, you acknowledge it, and then you process it. Once you process it, you're able to accept it, and once you've accepted it, it's easier to release it. The body releasing it only happens after it's received the notification that, okay, we no longer need to hold this signal hostage. It's free to go. And so it goes. But here's how you know that you're not actually trying to release it. You're just trying to acknowledge it to get rid of the feeling. This is how it sounds. Okay, fine. That hurt me. Now go away. It seems subtle, but underneath it, there's still resistance. You're still negotiating with your emotion. So the mind essentially interprets that as trying to control the experience instead of allowing it. So now the process becomes feeling, attempt to control the feeling. You get frustrated because you can't control it, and then you continue to feel the feeling. So you might be able to tell yourself, oh, it's not there anymore, but then it's still bubbling underneath. Then you get frustrated, and that frustration is a signal that it's still there. So it never actually goes away. You did not successfully get rid of it. You just probably multiplied it. Now your nervous system has sensed that that internal signal hasn't actually been received properly. Now it's gonna keep broadcasting it. Like, think of it like a Streisand effect, I guess. Sometimes we think that we're way too smart for our own good, and we think that we can just hack things and fool ourselves. But who are you actually putting in a compromising spot when you're trying to fool yourself? Because, deceiving yourself never ends well. And this is why it can detect the difference. Since emotions evolved as signals, their function is not just to be felt. It is also to communicate information about needs, boundaries, and safety or stress. So now, if our nervous system senses that the signal is being dismissed or manipulated, it amplifies the signal. So in that sense, it's like your nervous system rebels against you. So just think about it. You are supposed to be working with every system within yourself: your mind, your body, your soul, your nervous system. And by deceiving it, it actually starts working against you by amplifying the stress signal. And this is why sometimes people rebound emotionally. Because the more someone tries to suppress or avoid or eliminate a feeling, the stronger it can come back. Kind of reminds me of like when you crash diet just to lose weight, and then once you start eating again, you actually gain what you lost and more. Kind of like that. So ironically, the less you try to get rid of the feeling that way, the faster it often leaves your body. And there's a paradox here because that's it. When someone is genuinely willing to feel something, the emotions become less sticky. And when you try your hardest to eliminate it as quickly as possible, the emotions become stronger and more persistent. They become louder in your head and inside your body. That because the mind keeps monitoring if it's already gone or not yet. And the monitoring itself keeps the loop active. What is the difference? It's practically the same thing. You just want it to go away. The difference is intention, not the technique, not what you say, but the intention behind it. If you are approaching it with covert resistance instead of openness, covert resistance actually keeps the mental and emotional loop active, keeps the stress signal active. So, if you don't practice honest acknowledgement consistently, this behavior will continue to stay within your system instead of going away like temporary weather. And if it stays in your system longer, it starts to define your identity and it starts to control your behavior. This is because you are refusing to process those emotions. And do you know what happens when you refuse to acknowledge or resolve the emotion? Why don't we talk about it for part 2 tomorrow? See you.